So I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube about YouTube being like on easy mode. I think I discussed this before, maybe a few times, because um, it honestly felt that way. But I didn't really. There's some topics I didn't really touch on. I wanted to dive into them today because I went on a tangent yesterday. There was different videos I saw about how it can be easy. You know, and it's like anything you do in life, like whether it be like fitness, financial, work, like you start a job, you get trained on the job, and once know how to, you have the tools and you understand how to do things, it can be easy if you practice and you know fine tweak it. But I recently started taking YouTube seriously, like um in January. I took it very seriously. I was like, I'm gonna start making content, um, and focus on my goals and stuff like that. And I was gonna document that, and it's been something I've been working on for a minute. Um, and what I like started to notice, like, to this easy mode point, I started to notice, like, YouTube, like, it sounds cliche, but YouTube has been putting this emphasis on pushing like smaller creators. So it kind of, that's kind of where it stemmed from. And I kind of got excited because I was like, it'd give me the opportunity, someone small, someone starting and wanting to take it serious, this special chance. Like, this is the chance for me to take it serious. So that way I can grow, because it's, they're pushing it, right? But YouTube is like, it is it is pushing it, but if you optimize your flow, you optimize like how you're getting recommended, right? Because there's tons of big wigs out there. um I always watch texts. Like, I think about the MKs, I think about the Linus TikTok, the tech tips and stuff like that, and I think about those guys because I watched them for many years. um but you know uh, it's you got to think of, like, I started to think about it like it was my channel was new, right? And I started to think about it like I gotta change my perspective a little bit and think of it like me being a business storefront, like a new coffee shop that opened up on the street, in my neighborhood, and you got the Starbucks, you got the Dunkins out there, and it's like, what am I gonna do to kind of set myself apart from Starbucks and Dunkin', right? What value am I gonna provide to the people that watch, my content? Like, you think about it, like, you can always just go to MK, you could always go to, Linus. Is like, what's going to make me different from somebody that you could watch that's bigger? And that's kind of where I changed my, like, perspective. I was like, I was like, oh, at first I was like, I'm gonna try and do all this editing, I'm gonna try and do this these scripts and stuff like that. I honestly, me working a 9 to 5, I don't have the time or the energy to do that. That's what happened when I started in the beginning. Before I started, and I was like, oh, I gotta edit videos, like, I'm gonna talk for like 13, 14 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna have to go through all this footage and these and stuff like that. And then it 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 made me realize that was the one of the hardest parts. Is like, I'm not MK, I'm not Linus, right? And there's no way I'm gonna compete. But I say all that to say this, is that there is some value you can bring if you just, treat yourself like that new coffee shop, that new business on the middle of the street, and change perspectives. It's like, instead of scripting videos, I'm going to just talk directly to the camera, not edit, and be, minimal edit, if you will. There may be some takes and stuff like that. I might, get started, I might pause, I may make a mistake and stuff like that. What I'll do is just correct myself, right? I won't edit. I'll optimize my workflow so that way I can get more videos out, like, and own them, and then I'll get more practice and I'll be more comfortable talking to you guys, right? I think that's that's the value that I can bring. There's some more, but that's one of the pillars of value that I can provide to you guys, instead of it being like this big, chain that's just quick, easy, fast. You get the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. It becomes like completely ridiculous. I'm not going to be able to do that, at least not right now, until I scale up, right? And I use that analogy about the new coffee shop, that new storefront, that new business owner, right? So it's like, now that I realize that, it's like, all right, now, what value am I gonna give that you can't just go into the Starbucks or the Dunkin' to go get. So it's like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to be real. You know, I'm going to talk about things that have held me back from content creation. Things have held me back. And I hope, you know, and hopefully reach an audience. And that's the value. Like I can tell people how I feel, what are the things that stop me along the journey. And, you know, at least for now, right? That's, you know, that's my why right now. Like I'm doing it because I want to help small creators like you and me. If you're watching this, if you know, you made it this far, right? How it is possible and is achievable between your, you know, your 9 to 5, between everything else, between lack of gear and resources to edit, you know, with all these flashy lights and you know, transitions and stuff like that. How you can do that just as a regular guy to create and not have to be scared of the daunting 3 million, 4 million, 1 million, 100,000, you know, pages, which we all will achieve, right? If we go about this business, we beat the Starbucks, we beat the Dunkins, right? I use the coffee analogy because I drink a lot of, I love coffee, right? So, you know, it's like, it's one of those things that you gotta, you know, you have to think about, you know, and you know, I say I'm not scripting, but it's like I'll keep some notes to the side so I can make sure I convey my thoughts and not have to bore you guys with my ramble, because I can do that. But yeah, hold on, let me get to where I was. Like, I currently see like my channel as a place for new people to kind of just have a conversation about, you know, where they're at and how I could relate, you know, to them, and how we all could relate, and how we can help people and give people feedback on how things they you know, they tried creating and failed at, or they were successful at. That's my goal. That's what I want, right? You should be able to YouTube is, I think about it like this. YouTube is this business, and I'll go back to that Starbucks analogy, right? You think about it like YouTube is free, right? You know, a lot of businesses pay for websites, right, to build their personal brand and people to visit that website, you know. And you know, in the old days, you know, stores would close after, you know, sun goes down. So like YouTube is open 24/7. It's open 24/7. It's free. It's a tool, and you know, you can create content where something has a need, and you can provide that value to that person, right? And I know this is like a totally different perspective that I usually bring to the channel, but I walk with me. I'm gonna get there. It it it, it it made me think this way, where it's like I I have, you know, you have a problem, I have a solution, and you know, you're here for that solution. It made me change my whole like thought process on it. And it's not, I'm not, nothing about like selling courses or nothing like that. I just think this is free. You can speak to me, you know, this is like a conversation, right? It's like I'm talking to you because you have that question and you clicked on this video because you want that answer. And it's like, it's different. It's different. Like, I think you start off, you know, where, let's say right now I'm doing this, right? This is the beginning. I'm starting off helping people with you know, I'm empowering people, if you will, on what they want to do, you know, with their YouTube channel, and how to face their fears, and how to you know, talk to the camera, and how to be consistent, and just being yourself. You know, those are things that in the beginning, like, I had a problem with. Like, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't talk to the camera. I couldn't be consistent. I was scared to do all of this, right? But then when I realized, like, every day, most of my life, all my jobs have been helping people, right? And I have that, you know, I have that experience. I have that experience talking to people. I have, you know, experience in the tech industry. I've had experience talking to people and helping them with their everyday problems around tech and things like, and other things like that. So as I think about it, like, you know, you got to ask yourself, like, you do things like, you have a job, you have experience, you have a resume, you have all these things that you've done in your life that are great. Use that to leverage the growth of your brand or your product or whatever it is that you want to do on YouTube, because it's easier because you're experienced. It's easier because you understand it. It's easier because you've explained it or you learned it and you can explain it to somebody. It's very easy, you know, and that's that's, if you think about your YouTube channel as a web page where people can get those things that you're experienced and good at, then it becomes easy, and it's something you could do every single day if you had to. If you had to make this your job, and that's one thing I would love to have, right? And that's, some people do it for money, some people do it for to help others, some people do it for both, and it's okay. Like, you know, it gives you that leverage to be free of like having to go to work, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's like you're helping people, you're giving value, and in turn, you're in that value you're giving, they're giving, you're giving value, and they're trading your time. I'm sorry, I got tongue twisted. And this is why I don't want to do edits, because it's like, this is more real. Like, they're giving you time, and you're providing that value, and you know, you get the analogy, right? So at that point, if you're doing that, then it becomes easy. That's the easy part. You know, the hard part is like, how do you do it? How do you, you know, get on the schedule? How do you optimize like your flow, where it's like you're creating, you know? And forgive me if this is a longer like ramble. I just had this thought, like I went down a rabbit hole. I was just watching like all these YouTubers discuss, and I started to just go, you know, whatever. And I think you gotta think about it. Like, YouTube is a platform that provides value, like entertainment, tech, reviews, um, sports, movies, you know, music. There's so many things that you can, you know, do on YouTube, or you can search and find on YouTube, where it's like there's endless value, and that's what makes YouTube a great place to kind of see yourself, your YouTube channel as a webpage that people can visit. And that's the exciting part, right? That's the exciting part. This is all easy if you understand like all of these things. And I'm slowly starting to understand it, because I had a video. I was looking at my analytics, and I haven't really, this past week I looked at my analytics, and I had a video that had like 38,000 impressions, you know, and it's like 38,000 people tuned into, well, not tuned into, 38,000 people saw my coffee shop in between all the Starbucks and the Dunkins, right? So it's like, wow, 38,000 people saw my face on that screen. You know, whether they clicked on it or not, they saw it. And if you look at it like that, there's tremendous like opportunity. YouTube is easy. It's free. Like, people can you can, as a creator, you can upload whatever it is that you're passionate about, and it's free. It's not a website you pay for, and it just, it's crazy. I think about it like I'm excited about, what YouTube could bring for us. I think it can be easy for us, well, easy for you, easy for me, if you just kind of like take a minute and just lay out the blueprint as to what you want out of it, and what you want, and how you want to bring value to others, right? If you think about it that way, and you kind of change your mindset, and it's like you can create what you want, right? But of course, you got to think about the value, that value proposition. Like, you got to think about it that way. It can be anything. It's just, you have to think about it and figure it out and make it easier for yourself, because it is easy, if you do it the right way. Anyway, this is a little bit of a longer ramble. I like I said, I went on I took so much notes, and I thought to myself, like, it's there's so many ways to do this, but it's just, I have to do it the smart way. And also, the only way you can do all of those things that I mentioned in the beginning of this video is if you actually show up, right? And I talk about consistency a ton, but if you actually put all those things and you think about it differently, I feel like I'll continue to grow and continue to be successful, and I'll figure out what's the middle part of my story. Right now, we're in the beginning, right? Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching the content, and supporting and dropping the likes and commenting. It really does keep me like grounded, and makes me realize there's people on the other end of this camera that are actually there and are enjoying it. Anyway, thank you so much. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate your time. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. You know, check on somebody today you haven't spoke to in a while, man. Y'all take care. Peace.